In the long shadow of the late Cretaceous, when the Earth was warmer, wetter, and restless with tectonic change, vast floodplains stretched across what would one day become North America and Asia. Rivers braided and rebraided the paths, forests rose and fell with the seasons, and the air carried the low, constant sound of life in motion. In this world, neither predator nor prey lived alone for long. Survival depended on rhythm, awareness, and numbers. Moving through this ancient landscape, not with the thunder of a tyrant king nor the stealth of a raptor, but with patient certainty and social intelligence, walked Hadrosaurus and its kin. Hadrosaurus was not a single dramatic monster defined by teeth or claws. It was something subtler and, in many ways, more impressive. It represented success through adaptation, through cooperation, and through mastery of one of the most difficult ecological challenges on Earth: how to feed large bodies efficiently while remaining constantly alert in a world filled with danger. This was a dinosaur that turned eating, moving, and living together into a refined survival strategy. The story of Hadrosaurus begins deep in evolutionary time, among early ornithopod dinosaurs that experimented with upright posture and plant-based diets. These ancestors were smaller, faster, and far less specialized, but they carried within them the blueprint for what would later become one of the most dominant herbivorous lineages in dinosaur history. Over millions of years, natural selection favored individuals that could process tougher vegetation, move efficiently across long distances, and coordinate behavior within groups. Gradually, bodies grew larger, jaws grew more complex, and senses sharpened. By the time true hadrosaurids appeared, evolution had produced animals that were astonishingly well equipped for their environment. Their skulls evolved into elongated structures ending in broad, flattened snouts that would earn them the nickname duck-billed dinosaurs, though the resemblance was superficial. These snouts were not soft beaks for dabbling in water, but tough, keratin-covered tools designed to crop massive quantities of plant material. Hadrosaurus was not picky. It did not rely on a single plant species or habitat. It ate what was available, and that flexibility made it nearly unstoppable. Inside the jaws, the real innovation revealed itself. Instead of simple rows of teeth that wore down and failed, Hadrosaurus possessed dental batteries, dense stacks of hundreds of teeth arranged in columns. As one tooth wore out, another moved into position, creating a self-renewing grinding surface capable of breaking down fibrous, abrasive vegetation. This dental system was among the most advanced ever evolved by a dinosaur, rivaling even modern mammals in efficiency. It allowed Hadrosaurus to exploit food sources that other herbivores could not, turning low-quality plants into fuel for growth, movement, and reproduction. The skull, however, was only one piece of a carefully balanced design. The neck was flexible yet strong, allowing the head to sweep across wide feeding ranges without constant movement of the body. The torso was deep and barrel-shaped, housing an enormous digestive system capable of fermenting plant matter over long periods. This slow, internal processing extracted maximum energy from each mouthful, reducing the need for constant feeding and allowing time for vigilance. The limbs of Hadrosaurus reflected a life of adaptability. It could walk comfortably on four legs while grazing, maintaining stability and endurance, but when speed was required, it could rear up onto two powerful hind limbs and move with surprising agility. The tail, stiffened by ossified tendons, acted as a counterbalance, stabilizing the body during rapid movement and sudden turns. This was not a slow, lumbering giant. It was a disciplined mover, capable of coordinated group travel across open terrain. Skin impressions and fossil evidence suggest that Hadrosaurus was covered in tough, scaly skin rather than feathers. These scales varied in size and texture, creating a flexible yet protective outer layer. Coloration can only be inferred, but it is likely that hadrosaurs displayed muted earth tones, blending into forests and floodplains, with possible striping or patterning used for species recognition within herds. In a world where survival depended on staying together, visual signals mattered. Behavior is where Hadrosaurus truly comes into focus as a living animal rather than a skeletal reconstruction. Evidence from bone beds, trackways, and nesting sites strongly suggests that hadrosaurs lived in large, organized groups. These were not chaotic gatherings, but structured herds that moved together, fed together, and likely protected the young collectively. In such herds, individual survival was tied directly to group cohesion. Young hadrosaurs were particularly vulnerable. Fossilized nesting grounds indicate that juveniles may have stayed in protected areas while adults foraged nearby. Growth rates inferred from bone histology suggest rapid development, meaning the sooner a juvenile could reach a size less appealing to predators, the better its chances. During this critical period, the presence of adults would have been essential. Alarm calls, visual cues, and coordinated movement likely played a role in defending against attackers. Predators were everywhere. Large theropods patrolled the same floodplains, relying on ambush and speed to isolate weak individuals. Hadrosaurus countered this threat not with weapons, but with awareness. Multiple eyes scanning in different directions, ears tuned to subtle changes in the environment, and the sheer confusion caused by hundreds of moving bodies made successful attacks difficult. When danger approached, the herd could surge forward in a wave of motion, trampling smaller predators and denying larger ones a clear target. Habitat flexibility further strengthened Hadrosaurus's dominance. It thrived in river valleys, coastal plains, forest edges, and open woodlands. Seasonal flooding refreshed vegetation, and Hadrosaurus followed these cycles with almost migratory precision. Trackways suggest long-distance movement, possibly in response to climate shifts or food availability. These migrations would have reshaped the landscape itself, as herds trampled plants, dispersed seeds, and altered soil composition simply by existing in large numbers. Feeding behavior had ecosystem-level consequences. By consuming vast amounts of vegetation, Hadrosaurus prevented any single plant species from dominating, promoting biodiversity. Its waste returned nutrients to the soil, fueling new growth and sustaining smaller organisms. In this way, Hadrosaurus was not just a consumer, but a regulator, shaping the environment for countless other species. Interaction with humans, of course, would come much later, separated by tens of millions of years and a mass extinction. Yet Hadrosaurus holds a unique place in human history as well. It was among the first dinosaurs to be described from relatively complete remains, helping early paleontologists understand that dinosaurs were not simply oversized lizards, but complex, dynamic animals. The discovery of Hadrosaurus in the 19th century challenged existing ideas and helped ignite the public imagination, setting the stage for modern dinosaur science. As the late Cretaceous drew toward its violent end, Hadrosaurus continued its routines, unaware of the asteroid already on its way. Herds grazed, juveniles grew, predators hunted, and ecosystems functioned as they had for millions of years. When the impact came, it did not single out the weak or the strong. It ended stories indiscriminately, yet the success of Hadrosaurus remains written in stone, in the abundance of its fossils and the clarity of its adaptations. This dinosaur did not rule through fear. It ruled through balance, through cooperation, through evolution's quiet preference for those who learn to live together rather than alone. As the herds of Hadrosaurus moved across the late Cretaceous world, their lives were governed not by chaos, but by patterns refined over countless generations. These animals did not simply react to their environment, they anticipated it. Their survival depended on reading subtle cues in weather, vegetation, and the behavior of other animals. In this sense, Hadrosaurus was not just physically advanced, but behaviorally sophisticated. Communication within the herd was central to this sophistication. Although soft tissues rarely fossilize, the anatomy of hadrosaur skulls, nasal passages, and inner ear structures strongly suggests that sound played an important role in their social lives. Low-frequency calls would have carried across long distances, allowing herds to stay connected even when spread out over wide feeding grounds. These sounds were likely not constant noise, but deliberate signals, alerts, reassurances, and coordination cues exchanged in moments of uncertainty. In dense forests or mist-covered floodplains, such vocalizations could mean the difference between cohesion and fatal separation. Visual communication mattered as well. Body posture, head position, and synchronized movement all conveyed information. When one individual became alert, raising its head and stiffening its posture, others would follow, rippling awareness through the group in seconds. This rapid transmission of attention allowed Hadrosaurus herds to respond collectively to threats long before a predator closed the distance. In evolutionary terms, this was a form of distributed intelligence, where the group functioned as a single, highly perceptive organism. Social hierarchy likely existed, though not in the brutal, dominance-driven sense often imagined. Larger, more experienced adults may have guided movement routes and feeding decisions, while younger individuals followed and learned. Such knowledge transfer would have been invaluable in a world where river systems shifted, plant communities changed with climate, and danger zones varied seasonally. Memory, both individual and collective, became a survival tool. Reproduction added another layer to this social structure. Nesting grounds discovered in hadrosaur fossil sites suggest repeated use of the same locations across generations. These sites were chosen not randomly, but for safety, access to resources, and environmental stability. Eggs were laid in carefully prepared nests, and while direct parental care remains debated, evidence points toward at least some level of protection and monitoring after hatching. Juveniles grew quickly, but their early lives were fragile, and proximity to adults increased survival odds dramatically. Growth itself was a race against predation. Bone studies show that hadrosaurs experienced rapid growth spurts, allowing them to reach a size threshold where fewer predators could successfully attack them. This strategy favored energy efficiency and constant feeding during early life stages. In this way, the advanced dental systems of adults indirectly protected the young by ensuring steady food availability for the entire herd. Hadrosaurus did not exist in isolation. It shared its environment with other herbivores, competing subtly rather than violently. By feeding at different heights, times, or plant types, species partitioned resources, reducing direct competition. Hadrosaurus, with its versatile feeding apparatus, often occupied the role of generalist, adapting to what others left behind or could not process. This flexibility further cemented its ecological success. Predators, meanwhile, were forced to adapt in response. Large theropods targeting hadrosaurs faced a difficult challenge. The prey was abundant, but rarely alone. Successful hunts required precision, patience, and often cooperation. In this evolutionary arms race, Hadrosaurus shaped not only plant communities, but predator behavior as well. Its presence influenced the entire structure of the ecosystem, from the ground cover to the apex hunters. As environmental pressures increased toward the end of the Cretaceous, Hadrosaurus demonstrated resilience. Climate fluctuations altered vegetation patterns, sea levels rose and fell, and habitats fragmented. Yet hadrosaurs persisted, adjusting migration routes, shifting diets, and maintaining social cohesion. Few large animals in Earth's history have achieved such widespread distribution and numerical dominance for such a prolonged period. Then came the end. The asteroid impact was sudden, but its consequences unfolded over months and years. Darkness, cooling temperatures, collapsing food chains. For an animal dependent on plant life and large-scale movement, the world became unrecognizable. Herds that once thrived on abundance faced scarcity unlike anything evolution had prepared them for. Even adaptability has limits, and the extinction that followed was total. But extinction does not erase significance. Hadrosaurus remains one of the clearest examples of how evolution favors cooperation, efficiency, and ecological integration over brute force. It shows that dominance in nature does not always wear fangs or claws. Sometimes it wears patience, memory, and the ability to live as part of something larger than oneself. Today, through stone and silence, Hadrosaurus still speaks. It tells a story of balance in a dangerous world, of success earned not through terror, but through understanding. And in that story lies a quiet reminder: survival is rarely about standing alone.